County. Follow the proceedings live on KBC Channel 1 this Friday from 9 a.m. NYS, go on, be great. Kisii County is majorly known for its bananas and has been thriving on soapstone. Kisii candidates are gearing up for the next governor of this county. What is their agenda for Kisii? Don't miss the Kisii County gubernatorial debate from Kisii University this Thursday on the 9th of June exclusively on KBC Channel 1 from 9:50 p.m.
A very good evening to you. We are coming to you live from Fairmont, the Norfolk Hotel, right here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. My name is Safin Acheng Oma, just about to take you through yet another episode of Kenya Decides as we continue with the countdown to the general election, a program that has seen us have useful conversations to help you make informed decisions when that day comes, when you will be electing the next crop of leadership. And tonight, just a day after the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance unveiled its manifesto, of course we saw there the presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga, just a day after he was cleared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, came forth and explained what his contract with Kenyans is all about. So how many are going to sign that contract? And is the numbers enough to help him, succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta? Of course, we have to wait until August to see how that pans out. But in the meantime, what we will do tonight is to unpack what this contract is all about. What was Raila Odinga talking about that is contained in his manifesto that is centered around a 10-point agenda? And to help me talk about the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance manifesto is a panel of 3 gentlemen. Just allow me to take you through who they are. And of course, just sitting on my far left is Sylvester Kasuku. He is the CEO, Africa Center for Transport, Infrastructure and Regional Integration. Thank you, sir, for creating time for us. And we have Fred Okango. He's the Secretary Political Affairs of the KANU Party, which is, of course, under the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. Thank you, Fred. And we have Bernard Wakoli, a governance and a leadership expert. Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you very much, sir. All
right, so gentlemen, there was a lot of expectations soon after the Raila Odinga Presidential Secretariat announced that Raila Odinga was going to launch his manifesto just a day after he was cleared. Kenyans were really expecting, had high expectations and were hoping to find out what Raila Odinga is all about. And yesterday he did that, the unveiling of the manifesto for his administration. I just want to get your quick thoughts about what what stood out for you about the unveil yesterday. Let me start with you, Bernard.
Okay, thank you very much, viewers. What stood out from yesterday's manifesto launched by the Azimio One Kenya Alliance Coalition Party was actually, I can't say there's something very unique that stood out. It's normal. It was a populist kind of gimmicks that was below the expectations of Kenyans.
Yeah. So your expectations were not met?
They were not realistic, given the time frame that the Azimio was giving. When you look at the 12 points that are to be achieved within 100 days, 100 days are 3 months, and 3 months an elected government is settling down, appointing cabinet secretaries, doing what, and here we are being told within 100 days we are going to give 6,000 shillings per household.
Okay.
We are going, you know, when you look at those promises that were being given are too ambitious.
Too ambitious, and the time was short.
Yeah,
okay, I'll give you a chance to
short.
justify why you come from that line of thought. But good we have Fred Okango with us tonight, of course, just to explain more about what this manifesto is all about and how realistic it is. But Fred, before we get into the details of this manifesto, what was the significance of yesterday's event for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance?
Thank you, Safin. It is important to note that this is not just a manifesto. This is Azimio agenda. And when this document was launched yesterday, it was the start of transformation that Kenyans have been waiting for. This manifesto can be summarized in 3 pillars: economic revolution, social transformation, and good governance. And therein, we do have 10 Azimio agenda that outlines every aspect of transformation that Kenyans have been waiting for. And therefore, in summary, the reason why Kenyans are now happy is because for the first time we have a document that is not promising, but a document that is committing. If you read that good document keenly, you will have what we call the agenda, then what are the opportunities under that agenda, and then what are the Azimio commitments. A commitment is a covenant between the government and the people of Kenya. And therefore, Azimio One Kenya, we believe that with this commitment that we are offering the people of Kenya, that is coming between us and the people of Kenya, it's a contract. We have an opportunity to help the women of Kenya under Azimio la Wakina Mama. We have an opportunity to revolutionize the economy under Azimio la Viwanda. We have opportunity to relook at the devolution under Azimio la Ugatuzi. We have opportunity to look at our healthcare under Baba Care. And if you look at all of it, it tells us that this is more than a manifesto. It is Azimio agenda with inawezekana agenda. We say in Azimio, good people elect good leadership that takes care of the people, secure their lives, and give them safety nets. That is what we believe in.
All right. And we look at the key highlights of what you've just described and how you as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance plan to go about implementing some of those issues. But just also to get your perspective on this, Mr. Sylvester, I mean, I'm sure you've interacted with the document, and you also, followed very closely the remarks by Raila Odinga yesterday. Do you see a document that meets the aspirations of Kenyans, even in terms of how it was packaged, the language that was used, how it was broken down? Do you get a feeling of contentment just going through it, or did it fail to meet your expectations, like Bernard?
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers. First and foremost, what I would like to say is that an agenda for a government in waiting, or a manifesto for an incoming government, is a statement of intent. And with what I saw yesterday, and with what I've seen in the document, I'm satisfied that, number one, the Azimio team have understood what Kenyans are lacking. They've understood what the Kenyan economy is all about. They've understood what the people want, what the people need, and how they want things done, and how they want government run. Number one, the manifesto or the agenda is talking about investing in the people. The people of Kenya have been looking for servant leadership. And the servant leadership that is being presented in the document as the overarching theme is that Kenyans are at the center of the Azimio government policy. Number two, the Azimio government that is incoming has equally understood that the economy needs some sense of reworking. We appreciate that there is progress that has been made, but we cannot move like we don't have to have engines moving us to enable us to climb hills. We need some sort of restructuring. We need some sort of re-engineering of the economy. And the manifesto, the Azimio agenda, is talking about re-engineering and creating an economic revolution for shared prosperity. And as already been said by Fred, that Kenyans are good people. Kenyans want to elect good leaders. Kenyans want a government that can enable them to create wealth. Kenyans want a government that can create the employment opportunities that they are looking for. Kenyans want leadership that can safeguard their interests. Kenyans want a government that will listen to them. Kenyans know very well that if they elect wrong people, or people who cannot safeguard their interests, people who cannot safeguard their wealth, national wealth, if you elect people who, instead of safeguarding that wealth, end up eating it up, or wasting it, or destroying it, then Kenya will be at a worse off place in the future.
All right.
So in my view, the document has set the pace in the political scene. Those who want to look at it as not being realistic, that is ambitious, ambition is indeed the key drive for any government that wants to perform. If you have no ambition, you have got no business of looking for space to run a government.
All right.
You must have ambition.
But I'd like to give you a chance to respond to that, that it's a statement of intent. That's one thing, and then implementation is another. Do you feel that maybe it's justifiable to be ambitious?
Okay, it's good to be ambitious, but also ambition need to be measured. This is not the first time that we are looking at manifestos. Parties come up with manifestos towards every election year. And I was privileged in the last 2017 election to be part of the technical committee that prepared the NASA manifesto, headed by David Ndii. And what was in that manifesto, when you look, you compare with what the Azimio One Kenya has delivered, is mainly borrowed ideas. And this was also an advancement of what was captured in 2002, the NAC manifesto. So when you look, and by that time, by 2017, when you compared the manifestos of NASA and Jubilee, you realize that there was so much similarities. But again, the issue that you are raising about what my friends are talking about in terms of setting the stage for progression in terms of transformation of the country, economic, social, and maybe political, is good for a young democracy like Kenya. But again, when we sit down to look and prepare the manifestos, this is, the way Fred said, is a contract between Kenyans, the electorates, and the rulers, the people, the leaders, the people who are going to be in a position of making decisions. But if you tell me that if you sign this contract, this will give me this opportunity, this is what I'm going to do for you. Let it be something, even the electorates should understand that once a promise is made, a promise has to be achieved.
Yeah.
Like now we are trying to talk about the promises that were made by the Jubilee government 2017, 2013, which have never been, accomplished. The stadiums and the laptops for children, and many more.
But there are some that they have achieved.
Yeah, some
They
have been
achieved
achieved. Some have been achieved, although they have been shrouded in a lot of corruption, which some money, we have lost a lot of money as a country during those implementation and achievement of those promises. Now, when you look at this manifesto, it requires a lot of resources, a lot of funds. And yesterday I listened to the Deputy President Designate, the running mate to the Azimio, Martha Karua's interview. And she was consistently asked about where the government is going to get funds to fund these promises. And she was saying we are going to seal loopholes, corruption loopholes. Corruption loopholes, corruption is eating into our money. So I'm wondering, is the money lost through corruption only? going to finance the promises that are being made, or the other areas that the government is looking at to raise funds to fund these promises.
Fair enough. Very pertinent questions you've raised there that I don't want us to miss. And Fred, I'd like you to respond to some of those. One key issue is whether the general populace, the public, had a role to play in the crafting of this manifesto, and to what extent. And number two, he says it's ambitious. Maybe we may not be able to afford it as a country. Have you identified areas that you will tap into to fund this particular manifesto?
Absolutely. First of all, this manifesto, or this Azimio agenda, is a culmination of views from the people of Kenya. If you recall, Raila Amolo Odinga stepped out in a program called Meet the People. He went into all the 47 counties and 15 regions of this country, asking them, what type of government would you want to see? He had not declared interest. In fact, at that time, people were wondering, is Raila Odinga running? But he started from Nakuru, went all the way, went to the mountain, Rift Valley, Central, Nyanza, Eastern, Northeastern. That is what he did. In those Meet the People tour, the public told him what exactly they want. That is in this document. Again, I started by saying, if you look at the document that we were very passionate about in the constitutional amendment process, a lot of issues that Kenyans raised that are very good and valid to date are in this document. And to that extent, it means this is a people-driven process. The product is a product from the people. Number two, he has said that it's ambitious, but we are also reminded that you must be ambitious to achieve what you want, and that therefore there's nothing wrong with ambition. In fact, for a country like Kenya, you must set the bar high so that you get somewhere where you want to land. Now, within 100 days, something that I love about Azimio agenda, the government, Azimio government, will for the first time declare corruption a national threat to security, because we have learned that majority of the resources that go into waste that are stolen through corruption. President Kenyatta told us openly, and I don't want to believe that President lied. The President told us that every day we lose close to 2 billion to corruption. If you do that in a year, you can actually imagine how much money that we can save to put into manufacturing and create jobs for our young people. Number two, look at the social transformation agenda, what we call Inua Jamii. People have been talking about 6,000, but for the first time we have put this in a document, and we are saying, because the Constitution of Kenya demand of us that we shall protect the most vulnerable through economic and social rights. It is a right that you cannot take away from them, and that job must be done by the state. And therefore we are saying all the vulnerable families, we shall give them 6,000 as a stipend to cushion them. But not only that, the jobless youth that are millions in this country, that for one or two reasons, the Jubilee government had a challenge to secure their lives, we shall now protect them through what we call Kazi Mtaani. Then it goes ahead and says, what are we going to do in terms of economic revolution? This election is about economic revolution.
Before you go on, the 6,000 that is targeted to go to the vulnerable families, what parameters are going to be used to identify these vulnerable families, and how vulnerable does one need to be to be considered
if you read
vulnerable?
The Constitution of Kenya interpretation, Article 260, it gives actually who is vulnerable, who is marginalized, who is not able to support themselves. That provision is there, and therefore it is not rocket science to identify who is vulnerable. Again, look at the 2019 census report. 37 million are young people. Out of that, 18 to 35 years of age, almost over 20 million are jobless. You know what that means? That means we have a demographic trend that is productive but is not putting their the workmanship power into this economy. We must provide for that. Now, Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, through Azimio government, has tapped into that. And they're saying, let's look at the energy first, lower the cost of energy, then make it reliable, and then provide opportunities that are going to create employment for these young people. Secondly, we are saying, what are the drivers of economic revolution? Manufacturing. Then we say, we must now start from what is called made in Kenya. If you do the made in Kenya, you are actually creating employment opportunity for the millions that are jobless. What he's saying is, you know, they have not launched their manifesto. No, but I can tell you, I know where it belongs. He's my friend. I know he's very aligned. And if he's not aligned, then he must align tonight. Because this election, this is the only election that we must put agenda on the table. Then we must provide an opportunity, and then we must commit to advance towards that opportunity. For us in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, we strongly believe that the first time in history of Kenya, we are going to see a situation where we have a committed leadership, we have accessible leadership, then we have a people that are advancing to a government that they believe in and they will vote for. We ask the people of Kenya,
well said,
this is their opportunity.
We'll look at that agenda shortly, but Mr. Kasuku, is what Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance wanting for Kenya too expensive and unachievable?
Safri, I would like to tell you that what the Kenyan people want done cannot be again considered to be cheap. Matters of addressing the national economy, creating jobs, and providing safety nets for the vulnerable is not anything that you can consider as a walk in the park. Governing a government requires resources. And I would like to pick it from where Fred has put it, and I would equally want to welcome my friend who seems to be procrastinating in the middle of Valley Road. And I want to tell him that if you are on Valley Road and you say you are in the middle, my friend, you'll be hit by either of the cars.
You have to decide.
So they can even hit you in turns. You're hit by this one and the other one also hits you back. So please get out of the middle or the median of Valley Road. Now, let me address the matters. What has been contained in this document is actually what Kenyans need and require to be done. And we have not yet indicated the entire amount that is required for implementing this. But of course, I can see people are jittery. People who don't want things to change in Kenya. People who want status quo. People who want Kenyans to remain, to continue to be suffering, are afraid of breaking new ground. This document is breaking new ground.
Absolutely.
And in so doing, the document has clearly understood that before you can spend, you need to generate resources. We know for sure that resources are lost in this country as a result of corruption. So do we want to say that we are comfortable with corruption? We would rather be losing money through corruption, and that we better be closer to those who are corrupt, because maybe the resources will flow freely without any hindrance. We have to close the taps of corruption. The way you asked me a question, you need to be addressed. So, number one, we have to close the taps of corruption. And those people who are afraid of closing the taps of corruption are actually people who are benefiting from it. So we cannot close our eyes and say that we will push corruption to the side. So let us address the economy. How do you address the economy if you are losing over 700 billion that you need to use for providing services to Kenyans? Number two, on social protection, we are not the only country that is providing social protection. There are others, and they've been mentioned before. What I want to say is that at the moment, the country is already spending money, about 2,000 shillings per household. What is being done is that we are upping it up, because those who are vulnerable, about 2 million households in Kenya are vulnerable. They live below $1 per day.
So are we going to scrap these other provisions, or it's going to be...
No. You need to understand
so that you don't have double, sort of like a double arrangement of these social protection programs? What is the scenario here?
What I want to tell you is that the Azimio government is not going to be running another government on the sides while another government is running on the other side. It is one government. So whatever is being done, if that program has now been reprogrammed to move, let's say, from 2,000 to 6,000, so we are only looking for 4,000. But you also need to understand the difference between the current provisioning of 2,000 and the 6,000 that is coming on board. The 6,000 is actually going to do much, much more. Number one, it is going to move these people from what you call economic vulnerability into economic sustainability. Number two, it will create a capital base for these families to be able to start to manage their affairs and to move out of just mere consumption into some elements of the...
Sorry, just hold that thought for me. We just have to take a very short break and we come back and pick up from where we are putting a comma on that. Allow us to take a very short break right now. This is Kenya Decides. Keep watching. Of course, tonight we are talking about the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Manifesto. Stay with us. We are coming back with much more.
Boresha maisha na bima. Maisha hayatabiriki, huenda kukawa na panda shuka. Iwapo utashindwa kulipia bima yako malipo ya kila mwezi, usiwe na wasiwasi. Pata bima ili kuhakikisha yote yatakuwa sawa. The National Youth Service will hold its pass-out graduation ceremony this Friday, 10th of June 2022. His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta will be the guest of honor during the pass-out parade to be held at NYS Training College in Gilgil, Nakuru County. Follow the proceedings live on KBC Channel 1 this Friday from 9 a.m. NYS, go on, be great. Kisii County is majorly known for its bananas and has been thriving on soapstone. Kisii candidates are gearing up for the next governor of this county. What is their agenda for Kisii? Don't miss the Kisii County gubernatorial debate from Kisii University this Thursday on the 9th of June exclusively on KBC Channel 1 from 9:50 p.m.
Talk to the psychiatrist. She must know about this.
Can you honestly tell me who gave you the permission to give Julieta Olmedo confidential documents that only people like me are authorized to give out?
Adrian is the only one I have left. He's the only one in this world who's related to me by blood.
At this point, I'm no longer interested in being the wife of your father, so stop insisting, Noria.
But Mom...
This house is mine after all, and there is no room for you in here.
I will kill all of you to avenge our fallen Celestials.
As long as I'm the Avian King, I'll never surrender. Today, it will be the end of you.
And thank you for staying with us. How heated the conversation is right here in studio. All right, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. And of course, the conversation has been quite heated here in studio as we unpack the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Manifesto, looking at how practical it is and whether it meets the aspirations of Kenyans. Does it meet your aspiration? You let us know on social media at KBC Channel 1. Use the hashtag Kenya Decides 2022. Of course, I'm having a panel of 3 gentlemen. I'm having on set Sylvester Kasuku. He's the CEO, Africa Center for Transport, Infrastructure and Regional Integration. I'm having also tonight Fred Okango, Secretary Political Affairs of KANU Party, and Bernard Wakoli, a governance and leadership expert. Of course, on this second part, I want us now to open...
You didn't give me the opportunity to talk about what you asked me.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying on this second part, I want us to open up this conversation a little bit. But before I go into the nitty-gritties of what the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Manifesto is all about, there's a burning issue that you wanted to finalize, Mr. Kasuku, just to give you that chance in the interest of fairness.
Yes, just because we are setting stage for that detailed discussion, what needs to be understood is that, for example, in 202, you mentioned 202, when we brought in our government, people didn't believe that things could work. People didn't believe that reforms could be done. Free primary education was implemented when everyone else said that it was not going to be possible. It has been done. There is partial free secondary education now because the government is paying for part of it. The rest can be done and will be done. When we came to the year 2007, the Right Honorable Prime Minister had the manifesto of infrastructure. People try to rubbish it aside that it will not be able to be done, we don't have money, and blah, blah. All the usual rhetoric. A lot has been done on the infrastructure scene, and you've seen it, it has been done. We are not going to demolish what has been done. We are now going to put them into use. You do not build infrastructure unto its own self. You build it as an enabler to the economy. Going forward, where we are now, having known that Africa had always missed out on industrialization because there was no infrastructure, the human capital was not ready, there were no finances, there was no technology. Today, technology is off shelf. Today, we've already built a lot of human capacity in this country, and we have infrastructure. The time for manufacturing has come. The time for creating jobs has come. The time for generating wealth and making sure that that wealth works for the people has come. The time for Kenyans to be supported by the government, to seize the opportunities that are existing, to be able to invest in their own country has come. The investments are not usually about people coming from elsewhere, but the people of Kenya want to be enabled. That enabling environment will only be found under this particular manifesto, which has already clearly indicated that the basis for this growth is investing in the people, enabling people to undertake job creation, wealth creation, and enable the economy to grow.
And you take me to where I wanted us to start, and this is where even Raila Odinga started yesterday. He spoke very passionately about manufacturing. It is what is called the Azimio la Viwanda.
Absolutely.
Yes. What opportunities was the Azimio la Umoja wing looking at when it comes to manufacturing? Because we remember it's part of the Big Four agenda. What is different with this that was not implemented before by the current regime?
If you look at this document as a new agenda, you cannot read it in isolation. In fact, you must read it systemically, not even systematically, so that as a wholesome. Azimio la Viwanda is providing opportunity for manufacturing in a labor-intensive environment that will create opportunities for the many young millions of people who are jobless. Number two, it's providing opportunity to establish local, industries within the country, so that you can actually industrialize this area. And then, if you look at the issues to do with power, and he just talked about it, the cost of power is so high, and that makes it difficult for investors and manufacturers to thrive. And therefore, it is looking at how do we lower and liberalize power, lower the cost of power first of all. Then we can now venture into manufacturing. Lastly, it's looking at opportunities that will come with development within the areas of establishing those industries. So the whole idea that the President Kenyatta government had in manufacturing as a Big Four agenda is now an enhancement. Remember, no government comes in place to start from scratch. We are not attaining independence. We are continuing with the independence and we are sustaining the lives of Kenya through leadership that comes in place. Raila Odinga, Martha Karua, and as a new government have identified the challenges of President Kenyatta. They are fixing that. How are they fixing that? They are fixing that through identifying opportunities within the same structures and committing to make them better. Now, look at a case in place of, because I said you can't read in isolation. Azimio la Viwanda can actually be tied with Azimio la Ugatuzi. When we say one county, one product, what is this one product that we're looking at in Homa Bay County, in Kisumu County, in Kiambu County, that can actually be the flagship product that can sustain the lives of people of Kiambu, Homa Bay, or Kisumu, and that can now attract industrialization? Then we look at the cost of power. How do the people in Kiambu consume power? Is it cheaper? Is it expensive? And how do we make it cheaper for them so that we can attract more investment and prosper through that one product? Number three, we're also looking at the issues to do with, manufacturing as drivers to economic revolution. Economies all over the world have been driven by manufacturing. And when you go into manufacturing, first of all, you must ensure that whatever you manufacture has a ready market. You must ensure that whatever you manufacture can be consumed locally. You must ensure that there's value addition. You must ensure that the raw materials are readily available. They're not imported elsewhere. That is what this Azimio la Viwanda is talking about. We strongly believe that when we look at that, then for sure we shall be attracting investors locally, internationally, and we can be creating jobs for the millions of Kenyans, because this agenda is about creating jobs. When you create jobs, it's like we are teaching people how to fish. Then they can now fish for themselves.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well said. Bernard, do you think this tapping into opportunities in the manufacturing sector should be a priority for the country? And are you convinced by how the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance plans to go about it?
I like my friend Freddy's narration. It's very important that we get to understand the agendas stipulated in the Azimio Manifesto. But again, industrialization is good. But as he has put it, industrialization cannot take off without raw material. And I think that's where we would have started from, about how we can ensure the production of raw materials is enhanced. Because when you look at the investment in the agricultural sector, like Kenya is an agricultural country, as in we rely mostly on agriculture. But what is put, the budget that is invested in agriculture is very, very low, to the extent that we keep on again importing what farmers could produce locally. So I think most of the investments, I'm not poking holes in the on what the Azimio is talking about industrialization, but we are just adding flesh on what ought to have been the priority. It's about agricultural revolution, to ensure that farmers are get incentives to produce more and they get market for their products. There's part 5 of the Agenda 5 of the Azimio about manufacturing, where they're talking about production of farm inputs, like manufacturing locally of farm inputs, fertilizers, there's machineries and all those mechanization of the agricultural sector. But as we try to mechanize this agricultural sector, are we also looking at a way in which the farms that were initially best producers, like large farms that were there, which have already been subdivided, people are now owning very small pieces of land. I'm talking about practical things, not the illusions of Fred.
But do you agree that we export a lot of this raw material and end up buying the finished products, yet we can be able to actually produce the finished products within our borders?
Kenya is generally an importing country. We are not exporting country. We import more than what we export. Maybe in the horticultural industry where we export flowers, but again investors have moved to other countries like Ethiopia, due to government restrictions.
But is it because we don't have the capacity to produce?
We have the capacity. What I'm talking about is government to invest in the producers, government to invest in agriculture, government to invest in farmers, give incentives, produce locally.
Bernard has read the document. I'm a bit disappointed because you see, all these things he's talking about are actually articulated. When you read Azimio la Ukulima, it is there. We are even talking about guaranteed minimum returns. We're talking about investing in the farmer.
We are on industrialization.
Industrialization and agriculture comes together.
Allow him to finish his flow of thoughts, and then you can be able to come in.
Yeah, you need to let me come in.
No, just allow him to finish.
I'm not really focusing mainly on industrialization, but I'm connecting industrialization and agriculture and saying more investment should have been put on agriculture. At the moment, agriculture receives around penalty, around 7% of government allocation, which is very, very minimal. So what the government should come up with priority areas to ensure that at least more investment is put there. And when you look at other sectors, other parts like youth empowerment, youth empowerment is good. Youth need to be empowered, but not through tokenism. Let us create opportunity. Let's invest in this youth, not giving them tokens.
You've said your point. Mr. Kasuku, can you tell me why we import everything, including even toothpick?
First of all, this issue cannot be swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
I've heard the gentleman trying to say that he's arranging his mind in a silo manner. That if you're talking about manufacturing, that manufacturing is subsisting elsewhere. If you're talking about agriculture, it is also subsisting elsewhere and there is no connection. Absolutely. What he needs to understand, and I've now just confirmed that he has not read the document, is that manufacturing has not been addressed as a standalone, but it has been addressed as the key driver of the economy. If you're talking about agriculture, you are talking about manufacturing in agriculture.
Absolutely.
You begin even with the inputs. Why are we importing fertilizer, yet we can produce it locally? Fertilizer in Nigeria, where Dangote is manufacturing the fertilizer, a bag is less than 2,700 shillings. In Kenya, the same bag is over 6,000 shillings. So who is gaining? Somebody, some middleman somewhere, or some leader who does not want things to be done correctly somewhere.
All right.
You must allow me to speak. Now, when we are talking about manufacturing, then we will therefore manufacture for agriculture so that we can improve productivity. Secondly, when we produce well, we must therefore be able to undertake agro-processing, which is again part of manufacturing. We should be able to undertake value addition. And I want to address certain key issues directly. Number one, we are currently exporting raw leather called wet blue. Go to Ethiopia. Ethiopia is producing leather. The technology for producing leather is not something that is way out of our hands. We will be able to do it in this country. Number two, we are importing over 90% of our pepper. The reliance on technology that is based on Webuye paper mills is something that has been overtaken by technology. And I'm not saying that now needs to be taken away, but there are other ways of also manufacturing pepper. The sugar bagasse that is wasted in sugar factories is an input into manufacturing pepper. We import over 90% of our glass, and the construction industry in Kenya is one major activity. The construction sector is huge and it's quite enormous. If we cannot cash into it, as a people to make sure that the inputs into construction are actually manufactured locally, then we are not in the business of governing this country.
All right.
What I'm trying to say is that this manifesto has set ground for us to believe that manufacturing must be able to work, and it requires people who are thinking outside the box, not people who have silo minds or who are silo minded.
Yeah. Fred, just on that before we go to something else, I mean, help me understand why a product that is made within our borders would cost more than the same product that comes from a country like China within the same market. Because you say buy Kenya, build Kenya, but most of these Kenyan-made products are way expensive.
The cost of production.
Yeah.
If you look at one of the commitments that Azimio government is committing to do in 100 days, as far as manufacturing is concerned, is to waive those fees of licensing, manufacturing, business setup, all those things. The cost of power, I mentioned that. The cost of water. Water is a problem. And that's why what is, manufactured, produced locally becomes expensive, unlike what is manufactured elsewhere. And if we are to achieve buy Kenya, build Kenya, or made in Kenya, then we must look at the factors of production and make the factors of production reachable, accessible, and affordable. Then now we go into that manufacturing with the mindset that it is achievable. And therefore, I strongly believe that when Azimio government addresses the issues of power, energy, addresses the issues of labor, addresses the issues of licensing, addresses the issues of corruption, addresses the issue of water, then for sure we shall be talking about made in Kenya.
Okay, Fred. One thing that also came up when Azimio la Umoja unveiled the running it for Raila Odinga was the gender agenda and the gender conversation. How was this extended, in the manifesto? Because there was a lot of talk about women inclusion in leadership, women's participation in some of these positions. How is the women agenda captured in the Azimio?
You have hosted me several in your shows, and I've always said, I have spoken for the women because the women of Kenya are capable and suitable. In this Azimio agenda, if you look at Azimio la Akina Mama, one thing that is coming out is that we must now start treating them as special groups, the way the Constitution demands. And that means access to credit. We must look at ways of giving the women of Kenya easy way of accessing credit. We must look at giving them opportunity, economic, social, and political. And the choice of the running mate, Martha Karua, was a very tactful choice. Our competitors did not like that, but they just realized that this was a game changer. A game changer in the sense that today we have actually a woman leader at the topmost position in governance or in the cabinet that can actually push the female agenda, whether in terms of access to credit, in terms of political leadership, in terms of economic revolution, in terms of social justice. That is what we are looking at. Look at that agenda, and we say in Azimio la Akina Mama, we are identifying opportunities for women. And this opportunity for women, we're even going further to look at single mothers who have got no one else to support them. They wake up in the morning, go to Marikiti, buy fruits, come and sell on the roads, and then they go back so their children can feed. Do they have access to money or credit that can enable them establish a grocery? No. That is what Azimio government is going to establish so that they can sustain themselves. Then there is the aspect of these women getting the market for their produce. Is there an environment where they can actually say, today we have a market for our mboga, today we have a market for our fruit? That is what Azimio government is addressing. So when you ask me about the gender agenda, it is very big in Azimio government because it is going also to be led by a woman leader who believes that women stand for something in this country, who believes that women are suitable and capable. We are happy that in Azimio government, other than Martha Karua, who is pushing for women and at the top, then down here also, we will have very many women who believe that in this government, they have a space.
All right.
That is what we are fighting for. That's what Kenya has been pushing for.
We've had this before, Bernard. We have a constitution that has been termed as a very progressive constitution that has provisions, to support women inclusion. But it is how many years down the line? Almost 12 years down the line, but some of those provisions have not been fully implemented. I feel like the women of this country have been cheated. What do you think would be the best approach in making this finally become a reality for women? And is Azimio addressing this in a manner that you feel is sort of the silver bullet that the women of Kenya need?
It has been a journey for women empowerment and gender equality. And yes, the 2010 Constitution is very progressive in terms of giving women the voice to speak. But the implementation of the gender bill, the two-thirds gender bill that was in Parliament, it all draws to the point of political goodwill. If we don't have political goodwill, then it can be implemented. And yes, on that aspect, Azimio is trying, but there's no commitment that they do that.
Suddenly there's points of agreement.
But you know, they
loves the manifesto.
Listen, there's no commitment that the Azimio government is going to implement the two-third gender rule. You know, it will have come automatically from the.
I think there is a
commitment. For a woman as a running mate is not a statement.
There is a huge commitment.
Okay, settling for women is settling for women as a running mate is not unique because we have had 3 women presidential candidates. Martha Karua Ren was vying in 2013, was a woman. We had Wangari Maathai, we had Ngilu, who have all been, vying. So, I don't know the hype about Martha Karua being a running mate to Honorable Raila Odinga, because we have had women presidential candidates in the past. So, the issue here is about what commitment do we have as coalition parties or as political parties to implement the two-third gender rule? In terms of giving women the opportunity, in terms of access to credit, the Jubilee government is already implementing that. As in, there are a number of access opportunities for women. There are women funds. There are, Wezo Fund is there, and they are all accessible to women who are vulnerable. So, what I thought maybe the Azimio government would have done is maybe to expand the already existing mechanisms of access to credit, rather than saying we are going to support single mothers. It's like separating and putting these single mothers in a small room and saying, you now, we are going to focus on you. What about the rest of the women?
Mr. Kasuku, if you were to describe an economically realistic and a sustainable approach of addressing the women agenda, what would that be for you?
Definitely, my friend has not read the manifesto. It's good that I have the document here. The commitments to improve the participation of women in the national economy.
Is it the two-thirds there?
Two-thirds is here. Oh, you didn't read the manifesto. My friend, here.
Read please for me. Read for us. Read for us about two-thirds.
Enforce.
You're putting him on the spot.
He wants to read, and because I know he has not read, so let me read for him.
The implementation is there.
No, allow me to read for you.
Yeah, I'm reading for you. Enforce the not more than 1/3 gender rule in elective or appointive bodies as provided for in the Constitution with a view to achieving gender parity. So that's not it, isn't it?
It's already in the Constitution.
Yeah, but now this is the government that is
goodwill.
This
political goodwill.
Yes, that political goodwill is there, and it's already shown as a commitment.
We had that in the Jubilee Manifesto. We had that in the Jubilee Manifesto.
No, you had it there.
Let that matter rest.
There's a difference between what you had and what you
see, Safin.
Allow one person to speak at a time.
You cannot have a rotation.
You've had your say. You've had your say.
No, at least
Fred to
put him on the spot. No, excuse me.
Yeah, allow Fred to have his say.
No, Fred has spoken too much.
No, you will have your chance, Mr. Kasuku. You'll have your chance, Fred.
What I'm saying is, I started by saying earlier, this is just not a manifesto. This is an agenda, and it is the people's agenda. If you recall our proposal in the Building Bridges initiative, we were aware that achieving the 2/3 gender principle was an uphill task, and it requires a government that is committed to do so. One of the demonstrations that Raila Odinga has done that clearly shows that he is in for it
is to pick Honorable Wangari Martha Karua as the running mate. And that is a pull factor in the women. And it shows the focus of women as multiplier of wealth. And therefore, we strongly believe that this agenda is going to attract a lot of women into this government to show their goodwill, to show that they have opportunity. The other thing is in appointive positions. The government of the day has got a free hand to ensure that they have a 2/3 gender principle in appointive positions. Forget about the elective, because the elective, the people must decide. In appointive, the president of the day can actually decide and wake up one morning and say, in my government, I'm going to ensure that it is even 50-50. Raila Odinga, yesterday, when you saw the speakers, actually, you are seeing the cabinet secretary speaking in the portfolio. Anyone who is sharp enough would have seen that. I'm telling you.
All right,
then, among those, also tell me how many women spoke.
Okay,
you can actually see.
So
that
I want to give you all a
working.
chance for your round of final words. Let me start with you, Mr. Kasuku.
Yes, there is one area that we haven't discussed, which is also a major factor in the manifesto, addressing issues of MSMEs. MSMEs, cater for about 40% of GDP, and they employ about 15 million people. But if we look at the aspect of industrialization, because that's why I said that the industrialization agenda in the manifesto is actually ingrained in each and every part of the sectors of the economy. Now, supporting MSMEs to get appropriate work sites, because currently a lot of them are on just road reserves, and it looks like other leaders just want to continue seeing them on road reserves so that they address them. Number two, making sure that technology is affordable to them by assisting them or by supporting them through acquisition of new technology machines to enable them to produce efficiently, to enable them to produce quality, to enable them to have quality assurance in terms of consistency in their production so that they can also supply government. Okay. The other bit is enabling them to have enough credit, not just putting a small amount which they cannot even borrow to sustain or to support the business they have. There are certain regulations that affect the youth quite a lot. The youth are innovative, but they do not have opportunities with regard to meeting the requirements of regulatory fees, among many other things. The Right Honorable Prime Minister has said that he is going to scrap those kind of requirements. His government will therefore enable the youth to be able to bring on board their innovations, and they be supported by government to participate in the manufacturing agenda.
Fred, let me go to Bernard. Very quickly, your final thoughts.
Oh, final. Okay.
Yeah.
I think manifestos are good for any government, any government in waiting. And it will be very, very important to see the Kenya Kwanza manifesto so that we put these things on the scale. Really unfortunately, Kenyans don't read these documents. Kenyans, majority of them, vote on tribal, ethnic lines. If we could interrogate these documents that are being produced by political parties and coalition parties and put our leaders to account for the promises that they make. This is just a promissory, it's like a promissory note, promising to achieve a certain agenda. By the end of this period, like the Honorable Raila Odinga is talking about 100 days and gave around 12 achievements that need to be achieved within those 12 days. 12 within the 3 months. Are we able as Kenyans to hold him accountable to that
All right.
achievement? So that we don't just look at the fanfare about the unveiling of manifesto, feel happy, feel excited. We need to interrogate and realize that this is things about our lives.
I think there are 100.
I'm really pressed for time.
We have
Fred?
we have Azimio agenda. It's a cogent agenda. It's an agenda from the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya, this is your agenda. You have an opportunity to vote for a government that believes in you and a government that you believe in. We are saying we are good people as Kenyans. we only deserve the best from our leaders. The opportunity that we have today is to ensure that we put a government in place that recognizes women, a government that recognizes that we have issues with water, a government that recognizes that the young people don't have jobs, a government that recognizes that industrialization is key in job creation. That government is Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya. We ask you to go out. And as he says that this document people don't read, our job as Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya agents is to unpack this document for you. We are going to go into every village and translate this document into the language that you understand. We shall be coming. Embrace us and vote for Raila Amolo Odinga, because that is the next president.
My question, thank you. I was about to ask you where Kenyans can find this in a language that they can understand, but that is well answered. Wait for that, session where the Azimio la Umoja agents will be coming to you to explain what the manifesto is all about. So thank you so much for watching Kenya Decides tonight. Of course, it's a 43-page document. We cannot analyze it fully in one sitting. So what we'll be doing here on KBC Channel 1 in other programs as well is just to unpack this particular manifesto and even manifestos that will be unveiled by other players in the 2022 general election for you to be able to make a better decision come August. My name is Safina Cheng Oma. Have a good night and God bless. We've been coming to you live from Fairmont, the Norfolk Hotel.